Alright, today is day 3 of no fap for me. I know it's unusual for me to celebrate a day 3 given how long I've gone in the past, but I feel like I want to regain control again. Not that I had a big problem, but last month I masturbated a total of 6 times, which is considerably less than I had in years past. The problem is that fapping kind of took away my drive to entertain other aspects of my life, especially networking with people, which is the whole reason I moved back to Phoenix. And unfortunately, the result has been I moved here just to masturbate, and I'm kind of disappointed at that. And so I'll give it another go. And later this week, it's going to be Mary Curry's birthday. Anyhow, she turns 155 years old. And she was one of the first people that I fantasized about when I first started masturbating. I want to say the first person I ever fantasized about was probably Princess Diana. I was in 5th grade when she died. And around the time, another big story on the news was JonBenet Ramsey. She was a 6-year-old who was murdered in Boulder, Colorado, which is another place that I considered moving to. Well, Denver in general, during the pandemic. I really got a lot of acceptance for who I am here, back in the Rocky Mountain area and here in the desert as well. And then not long after those two events, one of my passions was studying chemistry, and I learned about Mary Curry, and I wanted to meet somebody just like Mary Curry in my life. So those are probably the first 3 people that I fantasized about. So it'll be a good opportunity for me to start my NoFap journey now that it's her birthday. I did a few others for other people's birthdays that I fantasized about, which is what got me to those long streaks earlier in the year. Now I want to review some benefits that I realized during the last streak and how I lost them during this last 2 months. So one of the big benefits I noticed during my big NoFap streak, which lasted 69 days, was that I had to fill the gap of not masturbating with something else. I was writing a lot of computer games. I was networking with people. Eventually, I took on a new hobby of die casting with the bismuth, making crystals. And then I moved back here to the Phoenix area. I think the fact that I was not fapping really upped the drive to get things going to move here, right? I needed to find a job here. I needed to locate housing here. And that was a big barrier for me to make the leap from Seattle to Phoenix. But when I wasn't fapping, oh my God, I'm bored. Let's go interview for that job, you know. Let's take a look at where to live over in Phoenix, right? It gave me a push because I needed to fill that gap. And unfortunately, ever since moving here, I started masturbating again. And more sadly, I got too comfortable with my work situation that I allowed the conditions at work to deteriorate. Although I'm starting to pull it back. I have a tendency to allow people to walk all over me. Not because I want people to walk all over me, but just because I want to reach out to a friend, right? Make connections. And a lot of times, unfortunately, at the workplace, it gets taken the wrong way. Whether it be with my colleagues, with my manager, with our clients, with the clients' families. You get the idea, right? I allow all those people to walk all over me because I'm too much of a pal, right? And unfortunately, the fact that I can go home and masturbate kind of allows that to happen, right? If I'm in the middle of craving masturbating and I don't allow myself to do that, oh my God, I want to speak up for myself at work. I want to do all that stuff, right? So I had a little bit of a problem at a Whole Foods, a grocery store here in the Phoenix area, that in the past I would have let slide and been miserable, but I really put the foot down this time. I have a favorite Whole Foods store. They have a hot soup area, and I always end up with a disaster while trying to get the soup. Part of the problem is that because of COVID, they put this glass partition over the soup counter so that your head kind of sticks on, so that you're not breathing into the soup container, basically. And so as you're scooping it out, you always make a mess. And to top it off, they don't keep napkins at the soup counter area. I don't know why. It's always frustrating because you burn yourself. Your first instinct is to run for napkins, and they're not there. And then you start putting it on your clothes, or you look for whatever item is nearby. You just make a huge mess, right? And I feel badly about that because I know some people who go to Whole Foods are either vegan or they have dietary restrictions. I hate to mess up the food in that area, and after a few times of having that happen, I put my foot down and talked to one of the staff members at the Whole Foods about this, and he blew me off. He said, "Oh yeah, that's a good idea," but nothing happened. And after I got blown off 2 times, I made sure to go there twice a day and complain each time I was there. Make a big stink out of it. I mean, not make a big stink in terms of rage or anything, but just be talkative about it. And finally, they did something about it. See, that's what happens when I don't masturbate. I have to fill the gap with various things like that because I'm bored and I'm lonely, right? And unfortunately, I got too comfortable masturbating last month that I allowed everything in my life to fall by the wayside, right? I talked about earlier today how I had a situation at work where I couldn't wait to leave because I wanted to see a podcast, and that's the kind of rundown life that I become when I get too comfortable, right? And during the time that I was not masturbating, I also dated somebody briefly. Not that it was going anywhere, but it was nice to get a new perspective in life as well. Anyways, 3 days, and I know it's unusual to record a video at 3 days, but I think it's important to celebrate everything we have in life.